Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into the epic story of a figure who is, well, legendary, Alexander the Great.
So get this. By the time he was just 30 years old, he had built one of the largest empires the world had ever seen. We're talking a massive stretch of land, all the way from Greece to northwestern India. And here's the kicker. He was undefeated. Seriously, he's considered one of the greatest military minds in history because he never, not once, lost a single battle. So, that begs the question, right? How on earth did a 20-year-old king manage to conquer most of the known world in just over a decade? Well, let's get into it and unpack how he pulled off this absolutely mind-blowing feat. You see, Alexander's journey to becoming the Great didn't just start when he picked up a sword. Nope. His entire youth was basically the perfect training ground. We're talking a legendary family, a world-class education, and an ambition that was, frankly, off the charts. It was really like a perfect storm of circumstances. I mean, he was born a prince, right? And then, by the time he's 13, his tutor is, wait for it, Aristotle. Yes, that Aristotle, who taught him about philosophy, medicine, you name it. Then, boom, when he's just 20, his father is assassinated. And just like that, Alexander is king.
And this quote from his dad? It says everything you need to know. Even his father, King Philip II, who was a pretty amazing conqueror himself, looked at his own son and basically said, "Son, this kingdom isn't big enough for you." He saw that Alexander's ambition couldn't be contained by just Macedon.
Okay, so once he had a firm grip on his kingdom, Alexander just let loose. He kicks off this 10-year military campaign that was about to do more than just challenge the Persian Empire. It was going to completely shatter it.
And his campaign was just a whirlwind. A total blur of victory after victory. First, he locks down Asia Minor. Then he heads south to Egypt. And get this, they welcome him as a liberator. The real game changer, though, was the Battle of Gaugamela. That's where he absolutely crushed the huge Persian army led by King Darius III. But even that wasn't enough for him. He just kept pushing his army eastward, all the way to India.
And if you want a story that perfectly sums up his personality, look no further than the Gordian knot. So, the legend goes that whoever could untie this ridiculously complicated knot would rule all of Asia. So what does Alexander do? He doesn't even try to untie it, he just pulls out his sword and slices right through it. It's the perfect metaphor, right? Audacious, decisive, and totally unwilling to play by anyone else's rules.
I mean, look at his record in battle. It was literally flawless. Time and time again, he faced down armies that were way bigger than his, and every single time, he came out on top. And that's not just luck, you know? It was this amazing mix of brilliant tactics, super bold strategies, and the fact that his troops were fiercely loyal to him.
But here's the thing. If you only think of Alexander as a warrior, you're missing a huge piece of the puzzle. His ambition was so much bigger than just winning battles. He had this incredible vision of a totally new kind of world, one that would blend his own Greek culture with the Persian culture he just conquered.
And there's a word for this whole idea, Hellenization. For him, it wasn't enough to just rule over these new places. No, he wanted to create something entirely new, this grand hybrid civilization that took the best from both the East and the West.
And he didn't just talk about it, he actually did it. He started founding brand new cities, multicultural hubs all over his empire. He pushed for a common Greek language to make it easier for everyone to trade and communicate. And then he did something really radical. He had his top soldiers marry Persian noblewomen, and he even started adopting some Persian customs himself.
Now, you can probably guess this didn't go over well with everyone. This was a super controversial idea at the time. A lot of his own Macedonian soldiers, who were incredibly proud of their own culture, saw this as a total betrayal, especially when he adopted customs like prostration, bowing down before the king. To them, it felt like their leader was going native, becoming too oriental for their tastes.
But even though his life was cut tragically short, the impact he had was immense. The world he created, the ideas he put into motion, well, they would go on to shape history for hundreds of years. His legacy was so much bigger than just the empire he built.
So what happened? Well, when he gets to the edge of India, his army just hits a wall. They're exhausted after years of nonstop fighting, and they basically mutiny. They refuse to go one step further. So a disappointed Alexander finally turns back. Then tragedy strikes. His best friend dies, which completely devastates him. And then, in 323 BC, while he's in Babylon planning his next move, he gets sick and dies. Just like that. He was only 32 years old.
And it's really hard to overstate just how much he changed things. Think about it. Before Alexander, you had all these separate worlds. The Greek city-states over here, the Persian Empire over there, Egypt down here. After him, you have one giant, interconnected, Hellenistic world. He didn't just conquer the map, he completely redrew it.
It's funny, his actual political empire fell apart almost the second he died. But his cultural empire, that thing lasted for centuries. Suddenly you have Greek language, art, and ideas spreading everywhere, mixing with local traditions, creating these fascinating new hybrid cultures. And his reputation as a general? Well, he became the gold standard. Every great leader after him, from Caesar all the way to Napoleon, wanted to be the next Alexander.
So that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Was he this brilliant visionary trying to unite the world, or was he just a ruthless tyrant with an insatiable appetite for conquest? You know, historians still argue about it today, and that just goes to show you, even after more than 2,000 years, the story of Alexander the Great is as complicated and as fascinating as ever.